Hello everybody, Shabbat Shalom. We are getting started with our weekly Parasha summary. It is Parashat Vayeshev. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megorei aviv be'eretz Knaan. Yaakov has come back. He wants to settle, in the land of his fathers, Yitzchak and Avraham, in the land of Knaan. אלה תולדות יעקב, יוסף בן 17 שנה היה רואה את אחיו בצאן. A lot going on in this parasha, life-changing event for the whole entire world, what we're going to read about today. And we're still taking care of it. We're still in the process of cleaning up everything that went in this parasha. But just before we get into the summary, already off the bat, we can say a few things. One is first that Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv be'eretz Canaan, that the Yaakov sat in the land of his fathers in megurei aviv. Megurei means lagur, to live, and aviv is the fathers. But legayer, a ger, is also a convert. And Avram and Yitzchak were busy with doing what? What was their actual job? Converting people, meaning they were people that taught the ways of connection to Hashem in a pure way, and they were busy all day long bringing people that were outside of Kedusha, outside of the realms of holiness, into a connection with Hashem and into a life of attachment to the Torah. And here the Torah is coming and testifying that Yaakov was busy doing the same thing. Once he came back from Lavan and in building his family, what was he doing? He was settled in his father's land, doing the exact same job, trying to convert souls into people that follow the path of dveikut and attachment to Hashem. And the Torah continues and tells us these are the offspring of Yaakov, Yosef. Right? Yaakov had many children. Why are you just mentioning Yosef? Because Yosef was the one that continued Yaakov. Meaning, like Yaakov continued the conversion school, conversion Beit Din that his father and his grandfather started, so too, who continued that from Yaakov? Who got that power from Yaakov? Yosef. Yosef was the one that was able to bring people in and bring people closer and into a relationship with Hashem. And there's another thing that we can learn also. Ele toldot Yaakov Yosef. The last week's parasha, we ended off with all of the family of Esav, right? All of the alufei Esav, the champions and the leaders and the tribal leaders of Esav. And there's lists and lists of people there. Comes the Torah and says, Ele toldot Yaakov, Yosef. These are the offsprings of Yaakov, Yosef. What's the depth here? It says that Esav was the pishtani. Esav is like flax. And we don't know what we're going to do with it. What are we going to do with all this? And they say, Chazal say, the rabbis say, that the answer is there will come one little flame and ignite all of the flax. One little flame will come and wipe out everything that Esav ran. So Esav's house is the house of straw, and the house of Yosef is the fire. It's that little flame that comes and wipes out everything. So B'ezrat Hashem, let's get into the summary. The Torah tells us in the end of the parasha, like we said, all of the previous parasha, all of the children of Esav. And in this portion, the Torah tells us about Yaakov coming to settle back down in the land. Everything that happened on his journey and all the reasons that it took him that much amount of time to get there. And the fact that the brothers now are shepherds and they're out in the field, and Yosef wants to go all the time to go see what's going on with them. And this idea of Yosef coming to tell his father about all of the things that his brothers were doing, his brothers always were against him and were always doing things that were kind of suspicious. They would eat flesh from living animals, but really they created the animal with Sefer Yetzirah. They were having relations with women they weren't married to, but really the women were created from Sefer Yetzirah. All the older brothers, they managed to meet Avram and Yitzchak, and to get the depths of, to get all of the deep lineage and Torahs that came out of the early Kabbalistic books. And they knew things that Yosef didn't know. Yosef was too young to know them. Yosef was ben Skunim. He was a son to his father when he was at an old age. And he kept seeing his brothers doing these negative things. And he would come and he would tell his father so that they would go on the right path. And this obviously is not a good thing. He had good intentions, but we have to be careful. We can't be calling people out and we can't be snitching on people. Even if they're good, we have to see the good. We have to want the good. And the Torah is now going to start to tell us, how is it that the Jewish nation ended up in Egypt? How did we end up in exile? Yosef at the time was 17 years old, and he was a shepherd with his brothers, and he would always do these childlike things, right? He would hang out with the children of Bilhah and Zilpah because the children of Leah didn't like him and always looked down on him, and they didn't behave the best. Yaakov loved Yosef more than all of the other brothers because he was born towards the end of his life. I asked once a friend, I've had this question for many years, and I like asking people, and I'm interested in whatever you guys have to say. You can comment below. Throughout the Torah, if we look through the stories of the Torah, we see that the youngest son is always the star. The Torah has a halacha, outright law, that the oldest son is meant to get a double portion and the oldest son gets the most respect. How is it that every single Torah story nearly, the young son becomes the star? The young son is the one that's favored by God and by the parents. How could it be? So one answer that I got is that the children that are born when the father is very old, so he already doesn't have a lot of ego. He doesn't have Yetzer Hara inside of him. He doesn't have a desire for sexual immorality, all these different things. He's a man married to his wife for many, many years, and he's already conquered all the negativity inside of him, so the son that comes out of that is very dear. The son that comes out of that place is pure unity, pure connection, and it's not so tainted with all the emotions and the things that we could feel when we're younger men. Yaakov loves Yosef very much. And another reason also is that obviously Yaakov wanted to marry Rachel. He never wanted to marry Leah. He didn't want all of this. He wanted to be with Rachel. So Yosef was meant to be the son that came out of Rachel. That was meant to be the firstborn, really. That was meant to be the one that he was meant to be the star. He was meant to be the firstborn. It's just whatever happened, and there was delays, and Hashem had his plan. And Yosef was very, very wise. He learned everything that Yaakov learned in Shem Ve'ever, in the yeshiva. He passed it on to Yosef. He also gave him a coat that was a me'ila, ktonet pasim. Some say a technicolor coat that's not mentioned anywhere. What it does say is ktonet pasim, which is a cloak that has stripes. Back in the day, you had one piece of fabric that was the same color. And if it had stripes, that means you were richer. We don't have to get that far, and the world was much more simple, right? It doesn't have to be rainbow-colored coat. Just, it had passes, it had lines through it, had stripes on it, pinstripe suit, that's what he got. All his brothers had a regular suit. But really, we know that this was a cloak that came from Adam HaRishon, and that all of the animals were afraid of it, and had immense power and protective power and spiritual power, and it was very auspicious. And it was a gift, signing the love that Yaakov had for Yosef, and he gave it to him. And here the brothers start to realize that there's a problem. And if we want to go back, we remember we have a rule in the Torah, it's very important to always remember. Ma'aseh avot siman lebanim. The actions of the fathers are a sign for the children. So, right? Yitzchak loved Esav, and Rivka loved Yaakov, and now Yaakov in his own house has to deal with favoritism. He makes the same mistake of looking at the best son, the teacher's pet son, the superstar son, and giving him too much importance, like Rivka did with him, right? And that creates an imbalance, and then you have to deal with it. So it happened in that generation, it's going to happen again, and we have to learn this in life. We're not really reinventing any wheels here. We're going through the same process over and over again in a constant refinement until we bring all of human consciousness to a higher level of connection to Hashem. And we each have our part in doing that. And this hatred and this jealousy started to grow amongst the brothers, and they didn't want to speak to him. They didn't want to talk to him about shepherding. They didn't even want to say shalom. The Torah says that they weren't able to even say hello to you, peace be upon you. They had so much hatred, and this is also a lesson that the Torah tells us from here, that a person shouldn't have one thing in their heart and another thing in their mouth. Say what's going on. Say it out. Can't talk to you. I can't tolerate you. I can't even say hi to you. They can't. They were at such a point of disconnect that they couldn't even bring themselves to say hi. And that's not the way it should be. And now Yosef is going to, being that flame that he is, that we said in the beginning, he's going to come and now add some flame and some heat to the situation. And he starts dreaming. Yosef wants to now dream. Everybody has problems with him. Everybody doesn't like him. And now he's about to add some fuel to the fire. What does he dream about? Yosef has a dream that, out of the innocence of who he is, he's not doing it to poke at them. He's not doing it to mess with them. He's a dreamer. Yosef is the dreamer of the Torah. He's the person that you can't stop his dreams. He knows how to interpret them. He knows how to have them. He can get into your mind. He can interpret your dreams. He is the ultimate dreamer that we have. And we all have a point inside of us that's the dreamer, like Yosef HaTzadik, this kid that was filled with dreams at a certain point and had so many, and society and the world told him, no, you can't, no. He gets put into jail, he gets kicked out of the family, all because of dreams, all because of the dreams I have. We have to know that those dreams might lead you to a place where you save the whole entire world, where you do change everything. We can't let people extinguish our fire and to put out our dreams and to make us feel as if the dreams we're having are completely nonsense. It's important to know that dreams are made up of majority nonsense, and there are kernels of truth inside of them. That's what the rabbis teach us. But to say a dream is completely nonsense, completely irrelevant, especially if it was intense and it had a lot of meaning and a lot of mystical symbolics, you can't say that. So Yosef is having a dream, and it was so intense that he wanted to go share with his brothers. And this causes him just to have more hatred to him. What was the dream that he had? He said that we are all the brothers, we're in the field, and we're connecting different sheaves of produce together, of our harvest from the field. And my sheaf got up and stood up, and it also stood strongly. It wasn't like weighing in the wind. It was established strong in a position of power and authority. And then all of your sheaves came together, and they bowed down to my sheaf. That was the dream. And his brothers answered, you're going to rule over us? You have plans to take power? Now what's the rule in the tribal system? Who's the kings? Who's in charge of the monarchy? Yehuda from Leah. Now all of a sudden you have rising Yosef, right? From the house of Rachel. He's not from what will be established as the Judaic Davidic dynasty. So this is already now a root of what's called a rebellion against the king. And rebellion against the king, according to the Torah, the penalty is death penalty. And there doesn't even need to be any judgment. If the king makes that declaration, it's done. So here we have a brother that's not fitting for kingship based off the lineage he's coming from, giving over a dream and a prophecy that he's going to become a king and rule over his brothers. So already here, a deep root, the rabbis teach us that this is a deep root of rebellion against the kingship, which was the just reason and justification for the brothers to make the Beit Din and to sell him like we're about to get into. The brothers now hate him obviously even more, and they go and they tell their father. Yosef has another dream, and he tells it again to his brothers, and he says, in my dream, I saw that the moon, and 11 stars are coming to bow down to me. What do you understand from that dream? The sun is my father, the moon is the mother, and the 11 stars are my 11 brothers. All the tribes, everything's coming back, and they're all gonna come and bow down to Yosef. Again, the brothers go and they tell this dream to their father, and he gets angry at Yosef, but he guards it, right? He knows there's something here, there's something being said. You shouldn't be acting this way. Don't keep antagonizing them and causing them to have animosity towards you and jealousy. On the other hand, this is not just a regular dream. And what's the reason? Because usually when we have dreams at night, it's happening because we thought about those things during the day. This is a thing that we need to know, that whatever's in our mind is in our mind. And if we don't really purify our mind, some of those things stay inside. And if you have junk in your mind during the day, that junk is going to be in your mind at night. And then you can't be shocked. You can't be shocked to find out, why is it that I have such horrible dreams? Well, what were you watching on Netflix? what murder mysteries were you getting into, right? Those things stay in your mind, and then you go and you dream about them, you think about them. Person looks at promiscuous things during the day, it's going to show up at night. And these are things that we have to be conscious of and we have to be aware of to purify our mind. So the problem that Yaakov is seeing here is if you're dreaming about this non-stop, it must be that you're thinking about it. What, do you really want to rule over your brothers? You think that me, your mother, and everybody's going to come and bow down to you? And not only that, Yaakov says to Yosef, your mother passed away already. She's not even alive. So what's in the dream anyway? Who's the moon that's going to come bow down to you? And really, the intention was to Bilhah. Bilhah was the maidservant of Rachel. Rachel passed away. And the main mother, the main woman that really, really raised Yosef was Bilhah. She was like a mother to him. And she was the intention in the dream. And this is why the rabbis say, every dream, even if it has nonsense in it, there's something there, right? We're going to see this later with Pharaoh's dreams. That Pharaoh had, he knew of something, he couldn't really interpret it properly, right? But there was, if cows are really going to swallow cows? It's not that. But there's something here, there's a message here too. So it's the same thing here. My mother can't bow down to me because she's passed away, but my mother's maidservant who actually raised me is still very well alive right now. She is able to do it. There's a funny joke. They say, why is it that in the dream of Yosef, he sees the sun coming to bow down to him and the moon coming to bow down to him? And the Torah says that 11 stars bowing down, symbolizing the 11 tribes. There are 12 tribes and he's one of them. But what about Dinah, his sister? Why isn't Dinah bowing down to him? The rabbis say, because in your wildest dreams, your mother-in-law will never bow down to you. Why? Because Dinah, she had a mishap a few weeks ago. The child that came out of that was a girl named Osnat. Osnat was sent by Yaakov into Egypt ahead of time with an amulet on her neck, waiting for Yosef to show up. He sent her in Ruach HaKodesh. And he gets married to her. So who's his mother-in-law? His sister. That's why she's not married in the list. Your mother-in-law will never bow down to you. That's it. You see some people here like that one, right? So now we're getting to the second aliyah. The brothers of Yosef, they go out to Shechem to shepherd their flock. And Yaakov calls Yosef and tells him, it's a few days already that they're in Shechem. It's a dangerous place for us. Everything that we've been through in that place to this day. You see how long we've been dealing with Shechem? 3,000 plus years, nearly 4,000 years, we're dealing with the same place. right? So it's a dangerous place. Go see. I want you to go see what's up with your brothers. How are they doing? Is everybody okay? Yosef gets quick and he goes to do what his father commanded him to do. Um, and he leaves Hebron. At this time, Beit Yaakov is living in Hebron. The house of Jacob is settled in Hebron. And they each have their areas of land where they work and they go to. So Yosef goes out of Hebron. He wants to go to Shechem. Yosef makes a mistake on the way. And he meets Malach Gabriel. He meets the angel Gabriel. And Gabriel shows up in the image of a man. And he asks him, what are you looking for? And Yosef says, I'm looking for my brothers. Et achai ani mechapes. I'm looking for my brothers. Can you show me where they're shepherding? Where's the pasture that they're in right now? And the man, aka the angel Gabriel, says to him, they left this place and they went to another place called Dotan. So Yosef goes in their footsteps. And the brothers see Yosef from afar approaching them. And they start thinking in their mind, maybe this is a good time to get rid of this problem, of this rebellious kid that wants to come for the kingship. And essentially they want to kill him.
What's Angel Gabriel known for?
Strength and might.
Angel strength and might, okay.
But also guidance. So the brothers look up and they see him coming and they have this plan and they say, hey, look, the dreamers got here. The dreamers arrived. Look who decided to show up. And they make the decision that they're going to kill Yosef. They're going to kill him and they're going to throw him into one of the pits here in the field. And they're going to tell the father, Yaakov, that, listen, he was attacked by animals on the way. And obviously they had no intention of daring to tell Yaakov that they slaughtered and killed their brother. But some animal, killed him. And then let's see what comes out of all of these dreams, right? Let's see what kind of king he'll turn into if he's in the bottom of a pit, dead. Reuven, the firstborn of Yaakov, hears about this plan, and he makes a decision that we have to save Yosef. We can't kill him. We can't be the ones that put our hands on our brother. But if you think that he's deserving of death because he's coming for the kingship, so then let's throw him inside the closest pit that we have that doesn't have any water in it. And for sure, a pit that doesn't have water in it will have snakes and scorpions and horrible things inside of it. And they'll eat him. We won't be the ones to kill him. And then you can say, we'll really be able to say, listen, he was attacked by bad animals. And why is he saying all of this? To buy time. Reuven doesn't want him to die. He doesn't want scorpions and snakes to eat him. He's trying to buy time. Don't kill him. Let's just put him in a pit for now. Let's decide what we're going to do with him. And in the meantime, he's trying to buy time so that he can go and save Yosef when the brothers are not paying attention. Take him back to Yaakov and spare him his life. Third aliyah. And Yosef gets captured by his brothers. They take this cloak off of him. And this is again the same cloak that he got more than all the rest of his brothers. They take Yosef and they throw him inside of the pit that's empty, but it's filled with snakes and scorpions. The nine of the brothers sit down together to make a meal, to eat bread, after throwing Yosef into the pit. And why only 9? Because Reuven, it was his turn to serve his father. There was always one brother that stayed with Yaakov to be there to help him to whatever he needed. It was Reuven's turn, so he wasn't physically there. And Binyamin always stayed with Yaakov. Right? So that's 3 brothers out of the equation. Yosef's in a pit. Reuven is helping Yaakov, and Binyamin never worked. He always stayed learning the Torah and in pure holiness. The brothers, the tzaddikim, again, we have to remember that we're talking about 12 tribes of Israel. Each person here is completely righteous. We're learning from these stories, but we're talking about people that are the chariot for the expression of the souls of Israel in the world, which is essentially the desire of Hashem in the world. These are the holiest people ever to walk on the face of the earth, and we can't talk about it in a way that we're making it out like there's some wicked brothers. There's divine things going on here. We have to learn lessons from not to behave these ways, but we're not talking about the essence of who is Yehuda, who is Reuven, who is Gad, Asher, these people, because they themselves were holding on much higher levels. And the second you get to really deep Kabbalistic teachings and all of these stories, you understand that this was the formation of the world. So just a asterisk here to point to, we're talking, and the Torah is telling us a story of brothers acting in a very evil way to their other brother. We have to know that story, yes, is meant to teach us how to be with our brothers. On the other hand, there is the formation of a nation going on here. If you just step back 2 weeks ago, or last week, 2 weeks ago, how could it be that Rivka loves one son over the other? They're twins. It's not even like it's two other births. It's the same birth. How could you not like one of your sons? Because she had to do that. She had to cut off this evil wing of the family and make sure that it's known from here on out he wasn't accepted. And the family is so young right now, the nation of Israel is so young right now that we're in a time of formation. So we have to understand these brothers are righteous. What they're doing is all within the mindset of halacha and purity, of guarding the mission of the Torah. If Yehuda is meant to be king and Yosef is not and he's rebelling, let's take care of it. Let's take care of it. So these tzaddikim, they sit together. They add Hashem. There are 9 of them, remember? They add Hashem as part of the Beit Din, as part of the discussion. And Hashem agrees to all of their action. They add in the heavenly, this is why I had that whole introduction before I said this line. They were 9 brothers, righteous. They needed a minion in order to make this an accepted heavenly act. They added Hashem into the equation. The Beit Din of Mala, okay? And he agreed.
Where does it say that?
Rashi in the Torah and the books that we're reading out of. Okay. And they understood that from the heavens, they agreed. And therefore, they sat down to eat together. How could you eat in a situation? You're about to kill your brother. How could you eat? That's the thing. If I know that this is heavenly, if I know this is the right thing to do, then what's the problem to eat? It's a mitzvah. I'm doing the right thing. It's a sudat mitzvah even more. This is a holy meal. And as they sit down to eat, all of a sudden shows up a convoy of Ishmaelim, of Ishmaeli merchants, right? Arab merchants, and they're going down to Egypt. And usually, Arabs, what do they trade? Oil and things that smell very badly. And the Torah goes out of its way to tell us that these Egyptian or Ishmaeli, Arab, whatever you want to call them, Imach Shimam, these merchants, they were selling fragrances and the most pleasant fragrances. And this is a huge, huge lesson. That even the holy people, when they suffer, Hashem still makes it in a way that they're not completely suffering. Yosef, to be put into slavery and to be sold away, taken away from his family, is already one horrible thing to happen. But to be stuck on a camel for a day-plus journey from your house all the way into an Egyptian market while smelling oil is already above that. So yes, we need to bring Yosef into Egypt because there's a bigger picture unfolding here, the formation of the nation of Israel. But Hashem in His mercy has mercy on the tzaddik and make sure that the journey to Egypt will be with pleasant fragrances as well. We need to know this. The tzaddikim, they go through hardships in a different way. They can already smell the good of Hashem. They can already sense the good of Hashem. And essentially they sell their brother to these Arabs. When they sell him and they say, okay, now we don't know, we found the garment, we don't know, died, not died, we definitely didn't kill him, we don't know what's going on with him, we couldn't find a body, we have this bloody coat. They now covered up their steps as best as possible in their eyes. And from there, what happens? the brothers bring him out of the pit. They sell him to the Ishmaelim for 20 silver coins, for 20 shekel. And the Ishmaelim sold him to Medes, to Midianites, and they sold him to Egyptians. Reuven comes back to the pit in order to save Yosef, and he sees everything that's happened. And he says, how am I going to escape all of the pain that my father's about to go through? My father's going to be shattered. This is his child. This is his baby. It's this kid over everybody else if he had to. What am I going to do now? My father's going to be torn. And the brothers take this ketonet pasim, this cloak that he had, and they take a goat, slaughter the goat, and they dip this coat in the goat's blood, because goat blood is very similar to human blood. And they send this cloak back with the children of Bila and Zilpah. They loved Yosef. Yosef always took care of them and was always nice to them. And they take it back and they send it so that they shouldn't think that, if it came from the sons of Leah, it's kind of obvious. But if it comes from their sons, it would be like, we found this. Do you recognize it? Everybody knows what Yosef's cloak looked like. Of course he recognized it. Yaakov asks, and he says, of course, it's Yosef's. And he wants to know, how could it be? How could my son get killed? How could my son get consumed by animals? What went on? Yaakov tears his clothing in mourning. And he mourns, now starts essentially a period of mourning for Yosef for 22 years, where he doesn't know what's going on. He has no idea where Yosef is. He doesn't know the story. He has no truth. He knows he's being lied to. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. 22 years. And the 22 years, what does that align with? The 22 years that he was in Lavan's house and not able to honor his father and his mother. It's like we said before. The action of the forefathers is a sign for the children. You left for your house for 22 years and weren't able to give your father a massage, to take out the garbage for your mother, to do the good things, to honor and respect your parents. So here you're going to lose your precious one, your tzaddik, for 22 years. All of the children now come to console Yaakov in his mourning. And he feels that all of this happened because he sent him to go see what's up with his brothers. He sent him into Shechem, which is a dangerous place, to go against his brothers, and his brothers either way don't like him. And it's known, the rabbis teach us a principle that it's known that we cannot get consolement over a person that's alive. Let's say you're like all these hostages we just had in our nation, right? Many people didn't know what was going on with their child. Some thought maybe alive, some thought maybe dead, some people didn't know. For all of those, let's say that they told them, the parents here, your son, we think your son is dead in Hamas captivity. We think he's been killed. If that person, after a while, is not able to be consoled, most likely the kid's not dead. It's alive. If your neshama, the mother and the father, know that their son or daughter is still alive. They feel, I can't receive consolement. It's not over. So Yaakov, everybody's coming up to him and he's like, we're so sorry for your loss. And he's like, I didn't lose. Though. I know this deep down, I know it's not sitting well that I'm actually mourning Yosef. Not because I don't accept what Hashem's doing. Because it's not clicking that my son's actually dead. I'm not able to receive the words you're saying. I can't accept the fact that he's gone. Not because I can't accept it. Because it's not able to be accepted, because it's not the truth. And I can sense it as a parent. And Yitzchak also would cry about the pain of Yaakov and Yosef, because he knew that he was alive. In the end of the selling of Yosef, he's sold to Potiphar, that he is a minister in Egypt that was in charge of essentially all the slaughtering for Pharaoh's kitchen. the guy that's in charge of the slaughter, the butcher shop and the slaughtering house of Pharaoh. Yosef gets sold into his house as a slave. Fourth aliyah.
Is there any significance that he was a butcher?
I don't know. Not that I haven't learned anything on it. I'm not sure. Fourth aliyah. In this aliyah, the Torah is going to tell us now about a different idea. We're going to stop the idea of the selling of Yosef, and it tells us about a very interesting tangent we're going to go on the side here, and this is Yehuda. This is Yehuda. Yehuda, the brother, right on the other side. And now we talked about Rachel's story. Now we're going to step over to Leah's camp. Yehuda, that he's the one that tried to sell Yosef, and he caused his father to become a mourning father, a father that's lost a son. And because of that, he has to pay now measure for measure. First things first, he lost all of his power and his positions, and he lost all of his wealth. Second, Yehuda has 2 sons, and they both die. So now he also is a mourning father. The brother separates from Yehuda, and therefore Yehuda now has to go make new friends, and he connects with this non-Jewish person named Chira. Chira was a friend of his that he connected with, and there he meets a woman, which is his daughter, the daughter of Shua, and he gets married to her. They have. She's the daughter of Shem, and they have a son, and they name his name Er. Er means arouse, awake. Nolad Od Ben. They have another son, and they name him Onan. And they have another son, and they name him Shelah. And then they stopped having children. Er matured and became an adult, and Yehuda gets him married off to a woman named Tamar. Er is Ayin Resh, that's how you spell the name. And the Torah tells us that he was Ra b'nei Hashem. He was bad in the eyes of Hashem. Same letters of his name, Er, Ra. Right? Why was he bad? Because he spilled his seed on the land. He wasted seed. And you have to know this is a big problem in the Torah. Many sources say it's weighed against all 3 of the cardinal sins. Taking your brain power, your energy, your vitality that Hashem gave you as a man, and spilling it into places that it shouldn't be, and not guarding our seed. That's called bad in the eyes of Hashem. It's called destroying seed on the land. And he did all of this so that his wife, shouldn't get pregnant. Because if she were to get pregnant, she would lose her beauty. So he was not finishing, at least not where he should. And because of that, he was very bad in Hashem's eyes. And Hashem decided that he needs to leave the world. And he was killed. And if a person passes away without children, so then the Torah teaches us of a mitzvah called Yibum, the levirate marriage. And now he has 2 other brothers that are not married yet, that essentially have to continue his name in this world and get married to this girl Tamar. And when they get married, and the child that comes out of that kind of marriage, the Yibum, they name the child after the father or the brother that passed away, the husband that passed away, and that's how you bring him back into the world. And now his wife becomes his mother. he becomes son, and the whole process continues. So Yehuda asks his son Onan to get married with Tamar. But Onan does the exact same sin. Spills his seed, and Hashem kills him too. Now Yehuda gets very scared to take Shelah and get him married. This is what's called by Chazal, by the rabbis, Isha Katlanit, a lethal woman. What's a lethal woman? She got married to one, he died. Got married to another, he died. You're not allowed to get married to third husband. It's already, there's too much evidence here for me to agree to such a thing. Scary things. You have to be careful. For those of you who are dating in your later years, if a woman has already 2 exes on her belt, be careful, be careful. So he says to Tamar, listen, you go back to your father's house, stay there as a widow, and when my son Shelah gets older, right, he'll be able to do Yibum then. He's too young now. You guys will get married, but wait, he has to grow up. He's trying to buy time, right? And after a while, Yehuda's wife passes away. And Yehuda goes to this place called Timnah, to where his flock is and his sheep is. He's going to go check on it. Tamar heard that her father-in-law is coming to Timnah, to this town. She changes her widow clothing and puts on her Vegas strip clothing, right? And she, by the way, women of trade back then, the infamous trade, actually were extremely modest and would cover up their faces to not be seen. And that's where Islam gets the niqab and the hijab from, that they cover their whole entire face. I'm not joking, I'm serious. That's where it comes from. The women in public, if they had that profession, they would cover their face. It was an embarrassment. The Torah tells the women of the Torah not to cover their face like that it's not modest. It's immodest to be covered like that. So she gets dressed up and covers her face, and she sits in the fork in the road at the entrance to the town of Timnah. She saw that Shelah is already older, and Yehuda is not making the marriage. Yehuda is not making the promise that he kept, that she was anticipating. She wants to be able to bring seed into the world, and now she's again on her 3rd son out of Yehuda. So Yehuda comes through this junction, and he sees this woman there. She's covered up, and he didn't know her, and he thought that she's a woman that's for hire. Yehuda turns to her, and for sure he didn't know that it's his daughter-in-law, right? And he asked to hire her, to spend time together. And she spoke, and she thought by way of speech that Yehuda would recognize that this is Tamar, it's my daughter-in-law, and it's time to make the wedding with Shelah. And she asks, what would you give me in payment for my services? You want to be with me, what do you have for me? And he says, I'm going to send you a goat cub, right, from my flock. And she says, only that if you give me a collateral until you send me the goat. Okay, it takes a while for the goat to get here. In the meantime, give me something so that I know. So he says, what do you want from me? What collateral is good for you? And she says, I want your signet ring, I want a garment of yours, and I want the staff in your hands. Yehuda gives her this all. He's with her, and by being with her, she gets pregnant. She goes back to her father's house. She puts back her widow clothing on. Yehuda now sends his payment, right? And he wants back his ring, his garment, and his staff. And the messenger now comes and shows up to the town, and he says, "Hey, where's the nice lady that stands in the street?" And they say, "There's no such thing. We don't have that kind of behavior here. We don't have women like that here." And he goes back to Yehuda and he tells her that the town doesn't know what you're talking about. They say they don't do that kind of thing over there. And now he's worried. Now Yehuda's embarrassed. Maybe the word is going to get out that Yehuda's trying to pay off debts, and he doesn't want the word to get out. So, and he tells the messenger, "Now you're a witness that I tried to pay. You're my witness that I tried to pay." And the rabbis say this again was measure for measure, that Yehuda took the cloak of Yosef and dipped it in the blood and sent it to his father, right? And which animal did he use? A goat, because the blood of a goat is similar to the blood of a man. And now again you have from the heavens, they're telling Yehuda, you're a goat. You need to pay a goat. This all comes back to the goat. You dipped your brother's cloak in goat blood. Here's a sign of the goat. And after 3 months, they tell Yehuda that, hey, listen, your daughter-in-law, Tamar, she's been misbehaving. Someone said she wears a scarf around when she walks in public. And now she's pregnant. Yehuda is the judge of the area, of the region, and he puts out a psak. Death. You have to burn her. She still needed Yabum, right? So she's forbidden to be married with anybody else. She's not allowed to be with anybody else. She's only allowed to be with the next upcoming brother in the line until that brother, if he doesn't want her, releases her from that obligation. But for right now, she's essentially married to the brother even without being married to him. It's next in line. So she is being brought to this house to be burnt, to be killed, executed. And in the meantime, on the way, she sends a message to her father-in-law, to Yehuda. And she says, hey, who do these 3 things belong to? I have a ring here with a signet on it, or some lion or some sort. I have a staff and I have a piece of clothing. Which man does this all belong to? Whoever's the owner of these things, he's the one that got me pregnant. And here we see the greatness of Tamar, that she didn't want to embarrass him in public. She said, listen, the best would be that if he admits it himself. She could have said, all right, Yehuda, you know exactly what you did. Don't play games. What are you trying to hide it? No, she didn't go that way. So who does this belong to? And this is where we learn. It's taught many times in the Gemara. It's better to be burnt in a furnace than to embarrass your friend in public. Many teachings of this in Chazal. And here's another one of them. Here's another one of this. She was willing to. She could have outright said, hey, how are you going to kill me? You know exactly what you did. But she didn't. She said, whose are these? If he wouldn't have said anything, she was going to get killed. Yehuda sees all of this collateral, and he makes a public declaration to the Kamimeni. She's more righteous. It's happened to me. It happened because of me. She's right. She's right in what she's saying. And here we see another hint. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet. That charity will save you from death. Right? So a saying we have, charity saves a person from death. What kind of charity? The word tzedakah is charity, right? But here the word's also tzedakah mimeni, that she's right. It's from me. If a man doesn't want to be harmed in his house, say your wife is right. Tzedakah. Tzedakah, she's right. That will save you from death. Tzedakah tatzil mimavet. And everything here was done righteously. You can't kill her. And here's a hint of Hanukkah. Here's a hint of Hanukkah that we have in the Parasha. The rabbis teach us. How long did it take from the time they were together until this court case? 3 months. How long has it been since our court case? Rosh Hashanah? 3 months. What is the garments of Yehuda? Those are our wicks. What is the staff? That's our menorah. And what is the signet ring? That's our oil. So the rabbis explain, the Hasidic masters explain, here we are, 3 months after Rosh Hashanah, after Yom Kippur. Who knows how we've behaved, good or bad? All of that doesn't matter. When Chanukah comes and we take our Chanukiah, we take our oil, and we take our wicks, and we look up to Yehuda, which is Hashem. We look up to Yehuda and we say, who are all of these? Who does this all belong to? Who does this all belong to? Meaning it's been 3 months since Rosh Hashanah and now I find myself here in the dark depths of winter. Well, what am I doing? I have a signet ring, I have a staff, and I have a garment. I have a Chanukiah, I have oil, and I have wicks. Why am I doing this if I'm not yours? If I'm not meant to be let off of this judgment of whatever decrees are on me? It's been 3 months. I have a lot that I'm meant to pay. But you look up to Yehuda, you look up to Hashem, and you say, what are these things? If all the claims that they're making against me are true, then why am I here trying to light up lights in honor of you? Why am I keeping a mitzvah? Why am I doing this in the deepest, darkest times if I'm so against you? If I've gone off the path? People are telling you, Tamar Zanta, Tamar, the nation of Israel has gone off. They're seeking other people. They want other connections. They want other gods. So then, who did these all belong to? Who does this Chanukiah for? Why am I lighting it for? For Walgreens? Or for God? If it's for God, then everything that they made a claim that I've gone off the derech and I want other things, it's not true. Look at me, Hashem. I'm here lighting a Chanukiah. V'zat Hashem. At the time of the birth, they saw that she has twins. In the beginning, she had the first son, and he put his hand out first. She tied a shining string on his arm to know that he was the first one out, and she named him Peretz, the name Peretz. Right? Why? Because lifrotz ufaratzta yama v'kedma tzafon v'negba. Right? We want to spread out, and that breaking through, that breakthrough, and that spreading out of the light, that is what's called Peretz. In the future, there's going to come a king that's going to be able to lifrotz kol gader, to break all of the fences. Who's the king? David HaMelech, King David, who gave us 150 ways to open the heart and break through any gates that you could be experiencing, any blockages that you have. David HaMelech taught us all that even if you fall, even if you're a Baal Tshuva, even if you've experienced darkship, you can break through it. So that's why he was called Peretz. And afterwards, the other one came out, which is Zerach. Zerach is to shine, right? And he was the second son. So now we're in the 5th Aliyah. The Torah continues and tells us that it's been a while since Yosef was sold, and Yehuda has gone down from his high heights. And now we're going to find out who is Potiphar and his wife. So Potiphar's wife, you see here, one brother is getting tested, the other brother is getting tested, and see how they go through these same situations. Tamar had intention for the sake of heaven to do a holy thing, to continue the seed out of this family. Potiphar, for sure, did not have anything in mind for the sake of heaven, right? He's not a righteous person like Tamar. So Yosef goes down because of all of this jealousy, and he has to become a slave for Potiphar. Again, he was in charge of shechting all of the animals in the house of Paro. And Hashem was with Yosef. He was successful. Everything he did, he had blessing. He's called Ish Matzliach, a person of success. And when his master saw that he was successful in everything that he's doing, so then he found favor in the eyes of his master. Potiphar started to like him even more. And he essentially made him the estate manager. Everything came into his hands. Yosef had power over all of Potiphar's estate. Again, this is one of the ministers of the Egyptian government, biggest country in the world. Yosef went from being a slave, being sold away, to quite a nice job, right? You're still a slave, but you're one of the top 10 slaves in the whole entire world. It's not a bad position to be in if you're already in exile. And everything that is going on in his realm of business, of slaughtering in the house of Potiphar, is just being super successful, and he knows it's all because of Yosef. And he trusted in Yosef so much that he knew everything. He could do anything. He managed everything. He didn't know anything was going on in his own house. He gave full reign over to Yosef. He made him CEO, and he's just sitting back in retirement. He doesn't know anything that's going on. All he knows is the food that he's putting in his mouth, Potiphar. What does that mean? The only thing he cares about is his wife. The food he's putting in his mouth, that means there's one thing in the house that Yosef can't touch. The only thing that Potiphar wants, that's his wife. There are other opinions that Potiphar actually might have been from San Francisco and had other desires with Yosef and ways that he wanted to have Yosef in his house. But one thing's for sure, Yosef can do anything he wants in his house, he can't touch Potiphar's wife. But the Torah wants to speak in a clean way, so it tells us that the only thing he cared about was his food. Doesn't want to go there. Yosef was very, 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 very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Like his mother. And since now he's seeing that he's rising to a position of power, with money comes a little bit of leisure. And Yosef starts to make sure that his hair is nice. And he wants to eat the best food. And he wants to, show up looking with the best clothing. And he's feeling himself, as we say. And Hashem said to him, your father is mourning and you're getting your hair done? How does this add up? Immediately when that happened, Potiphar's wife started to come after him. That's when the test started. Up until then, Yosef was a slave and he had his job. The second now you think things are good, you're going to sit back, you want to start looking in the mirror too much, you want to start doing your hair too much, here's your test. The sixth aliyah, after all of the different pleasures that Yosef has now, and he looks good, now all of a sudden the biggest test possible could come. His master's wife, essentially his owner, is telling him, I have needs. And Yosef obviously immediately rejects her orders, and he says, listen, your husband has no idea what's going on in this house, and he gave me complete rule and authority to do everything in this house. I run everything. I make everything happen in this house, and I don't lack anything because I do my job. I get everything I need. Everything's okay. There's one thing that I'm not allowed to touch in this house, and that's you. And how could I do such bad to a master that's so good to me? I have everything. Everything's taken care of. I have one rule in this house. I'm the king of the house. There's one rule. There's one thing that I can't. How could I do such a thing? And then I'm going to have a huge sin in front of Hashem as well. Yosef, that's one thing. And he ends the sentence saying this would be a huge sin against Hashem as well. Not only that I'm going to do something wrong, I would be going against the Torah, I would be going against Hashem. Potiphar's wife would beg him and seduce him and try as much as she can that they should be together. And, let's just lay down on the bed. We don't have to do anything. Just Netflix, no chill. Let's just be together. And Chazal comes and says, right, that her intention was for the sake of heaven. Why? Why was her intention pure? She saw that in the future, there's going to be a connection here. I'm going to have children from Yosef. It must be that we're meant to get married. But she didn't know that it's her daughter that's going to go to Yosef and not her. That daughter is who we said before, Osnat. Osnat, the daughter of Dinah, when Dinah was taken advantage of by Shechem. And that daughter was sent with an amulet to Mitzrayim, and she was working in Potiphar's house as well. And they met there, and Potiphar's wife, which is a witch, obviously Egyptian witchcraft that goes hand in hand, and she can see that there's a connection here. She sees that there's a connection. That's why she wants Yosef so bad. She just couldn't see that the connection was from someone that works for her, not from her. And now the day comes, the festivity. There's a nice idol worshipping party going on in Egypt, and everybody's out the house partying. No one's home. But who doesn't celebrate and participate in Avodah Zarah? Yosef Tzaddik, little Joseph, the Hebrew, who doesn't. Everybody's doing one thing in the world. The Hebrew, the Ivri, the other side, is going against it and doesn't want to be there. So he comes home, he's doing his job at home, he's doing his work. And she comes now and she grabs his clothing, she grabs onto him, and she says, that's it, time has come, get in bed. And Yosef leaves his clothing. She rips off his clothing, he runs out naked, out of the house. He said, it's better to be embarrassed and be naked in the street than for me to touch this woman to get with her. When she saw that he's running away and he left his clothing, so then she let out a #MeToo cry, right? That this is, I was taken advantage of, and so people should come and be able to defend her, and then she wouldn't be in trouble. And she says, look, my husband brought in this Hebrew boy, and look how beautiful he is, brought in the house, and he wants to come with me and lay down with me, and that's why I screamed out. And when he saw that I was screaming, he even left his clothing here, he just ran away. Here's proof, I have his clothing, he's naked, he's running around. He left clothes in my room. Now Potiphar comes home, she has clothing, she has proof, she has everything, she's Bichlal his wife, this is a slave we're talking about, doesn't matter what kind of level slave he is, it doesn't matter that he's the manager of everything, he's not the husband. Tells everything that happens. And obviously, right, she makes herself righteous and that she's innocent. And when he hears everything that's going on, he got very, very angry. And he took Yosef and he put him inside the jail. And he put him where all of the prisoners of the king are, the presidential penitentiary. And the rabbis say that after this, what should have been the fate of Yosef? Death. Like, there's no other way out. It's clear as day. There's only one way. You get hired by one of the top ministers who happens to be the butcher. It's not most likely not the softest guy in the world, right? Killing animals all day long. And you defile his wife. There's only one way out of that. It's death. But what happened was Potiphar, he knew. He really believed Yosef. He didn't believe his wife. He knew something was wrong here, he knew something was fishy, and he really believed him. And he knew that Yosef was such a good kid, and he had so much honor that he didn't want to kill him. On the other hand, how my wife got defiled and I'm not going to defend her name in public, so he put him in jail. Life sentence, not murder. Hashem was with Yosef, and now the warden of the jail finds, right, Yosef finds favor in his eyes. Everybody loves Yosef there in the jail. He gets, again, lifted to high heights. It's pretty much becomes the chief warden, the chief prisoner. Is in charge of all of the prisoners. And everything moves in the jail according to Yosef's mouth. He was wiser than everybody. Hashem made him more successful than anybody else. So he's doing well there. And now we're in the 7th Aliyah. After that, the story of Eshet Potiphar. Hashem wants to bring now the situation of the minister of drinks, beverages, and alcohol. What are they calling you? ATF? Right? The head of the ATF. And he's now getting in jail. The head of the ATF's in jail. Why? Because a fly made it into the drink of Pharaoh. Right? This was the cupbearer of Pharaoh. He used to pour Pharaoh's cup, and he served Pharaoh a cup with a fly in it. That's not something you can do to the king. You go to jail for it. And there's also the baker, the head baker, that he sinned to Pharaoh because there was things that shouldn't be inside bread. Rocks and improper things that were baked inside of a loaf of bread, and you serve that to the king. Also, you go to jail.
What other improper things?
Rocks.
Okay.
Things that are not meant to be in bread. Now they're talking about their case, and they come to Paro. Paro is very, very angry at these ministers. They didn't pay attention to their workers, so he put them in the jail, in the same jail that Yosef's in, because it's the presidential jail, right? So now these are high people, and Yosef now has to take care of these people. And they were 12 months in jail. The baker and this ATF guy, the cupbearer, they both have dreams. And they have dreams about their futures that are coming upon them. But they didn't understand how to interpret the dreams. And therefore they were very upset and they were sad. Yosef saw that their face was down. Here we also learn, if you see a person having a hard day and you can see it on their face, ask them, what's up? What's going on? Like Yosef did. He says, why are you guys so sad today? What's going on? What's on your face? And they said, listen, we had a dream and there's no one here that can interpret the dream for them. Yosef says to them, interpretations of dreams is in the hand of Hashem. But tell me, and Hashem might help me, and I'll be able to give you an answer. So first comes the cupbearer, and he tells his dream. He says that I see a vineyard of grapes, and there's 3 rows of grapes in the vineyard. And afterwards, they become beautifully ripe and very, very fruitful, and everything's good. And there's Pharaoh's goblet is in my hand, and I take from the grapes and I just squeeze them, and out comes pure wine into the cup of Pharaoh, and I put it in his hand. And Yosef tells him, the 3 lines of grapes, these are 3 days. And in 3 days, Pharaoh is going to bring you back to your job. And he's going to see that you're lacking and you're missing, and he wants you back. You're going to go right back to your position just like you were in the past. Now he tells him, the cupbearer, just please, if you could, I did you this favor, if you could mention me when you get back to Pharaoh, say, hey, there's this nice, good-looking Egyptian boy, Hebrew boy in jail. He's really successful. We should have him on our team. Just remember me. And what do you mean, mention me? Because I'm innocent. Yosef didn't do anything, right? He's still in jail. He's not meant to be there. And then comes the baker, and he tells his dream, and he wants it to be also interpreted for the good. And we know this, that you have to be careful who you tell your dreams to, because dreams go according to the interpretation, and it has to be a good interpretation. And it's better you should go to your friend that's going to interpret it best, not your best friend. Whoever's going to say the nicest interpretation, that's who you go to and take your dreams to. So Sarofim, this baker, comes and he tells his dream to Joseph. And he says, I see 3 baskets with holes inside of them. And they're resting on my head, 3 baskets stacked on top of my head. And on the top one, it's filled with all different types of food that's going to Pharaoh. But a bird is coming and eating from the basket. He's eating all the food. Yosef says, the 3 baskets, those are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh's going to chop your head off. And he's going to hang up your body on a tree, and a bird is going to come eat from your flesh. Pretty intense. And then we get up to the maftir. On the 3rd day of the dream was the birthday of Pharaoh. He had a big party. He needed his cupbearer. Cupbearer gets his job back. and he asks to bring back both of them, the cupbearer and the baker, right? Gives one their job back, and the other he hangs exactly like Yosef said would happen. And the cupbearer does not mention Yosef in front of Pharaoh. That's it. Pharaoh also has a birthday. The only birthday that's mentioned in the whole entire Torah is Pharaoh's birthday. Yom Oledet Sameach to Pharaoh. It's mentioned in this week. Yimach Shimo. So that also raises a question: do we celebrate birthdays or not? If the only person we have evidence of celebrating one is the source and the cause of all evil. But let's go into just to wrap this up. It's a powerful parasha. You see how much that we have here and how much we just downloaded. One thing we need to know: baseless hatred is the worst, one of the worst sins that we have. There's two things that the rabbis say we're still paying for in every single generation. One of them is the fact that the Jews served idol worship when the giving of the Torah with a golden calf. And the other thing is that us as brothers sold one of our brothers into slavery. One of them is the sin of idol worship, and that is the root of all sins that we do between us and God. All right? There's commandments between us and our Creator, and there's commandments between us and society and other people in our lives. So the root blemish of all the sins between us and God comes from the dancing around the golden calf. And the root blemish between us and societal laws of us and others comes from the fact that the brothers sold their brother. And to this day, the rabbis say that sins can be atoned for, but these two sins were so grave and so drastic that till this day we still are paying for them. How? For example, there's a terrorist attack, not lo alenu, God forbid it should happen. 20 people die. One of them was for the golden calf, and one of them was for the selling of Yosef Tzaddik. We know that also we have the 10 martyrs that were killed in the times of the Second Temple, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Ishmael, many tzaddikim that were there, 10 tzaddikim that were killed, and we know that it was also, those were the 10 brothers that had to come back, and they had to, there's many, many, many depths to this in the writings of the Kabbalists, how those 10 brothers were the rectification for the selling of Yosef. And there's so much here, but one thing we have to be sure of, we have to respect one another. We have to know that there is space for another person. Whatever Hashem has planned, He has planned. Nothing is really a threat to us. Yehuda shouldn't have been afraid that he's having dreams of being a king. Let's see how Hashem plans it out. Yosef, there's Mashiach ben Yosef, there's Mashiach ben David. We're going to be talking about this idea more as we go on in these parashiot, about these differences between the paths of Rachel and Leah. If you're interested in finding out more about Rachel and Leah, I have a playlist called Rachel and Leah, Rachel and Leah. You can look up and you understand the more inner workings of these two paths of the souls. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to have a beautiful Shabbat. We connect to this parasha and understand that right now we're starting the journey into Egypt. We're starting our descent into the first exile of the Jewish people that will establish us as a nation and last for 210 years of presence in Egypt until we come out, Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. And here we're going in as a house, as a man and 70, right now just an individual man, a son of a father who has tribes. We're going to go in there as 70 nations, 70 people, part of one house, and we're going to come out as 12 tribes in one nation to receive the Torah and to come back in the land of Israel. And this is all our personal journey. We also are going through this as well. We have tests that we go through. We have things that try to, right? Potiphar's wife changed her clothing 3 times a day, 2 times a day, whatever it was, it doesn't matter. She tried her best to pull Yosef down, and he stayed loyal to Hashem, even in the hardships, even in a concealed place like Egypt. Maybe this is a reason of why he was the minister of slaughtering, of animal slaughtering, because it's food. It's like the pleasures of food, right? And Yosef in Egypt, the most material place, in the minister of materialism, didn't become material. He stayed a tzaddik, he stayed righteous. Maybe that's something that we can say to answer on that. B'ezrat Hashem. Shabbat shalom u'mevorach. And I have to say this. If you made it this far in the video, go to skool.com/gounity. We put a link underneath this description. If you've made it this far, that means you enjoy learning with us. come join our online community. We're going to be doing a lot more there. Bezat Hashem.